everyone. Welcome to the main stage for our final speaker of today, of our Chief in Tech Day. And with us coming to the stage right now, we have Shelli Brunswick. Shelli, welcome to the stage. Oh, we might have your mute on here, Shelli. We have
Thank
to, right?
you. You know how that goes. Mute. Mastering the mute button is so important, but thank you so much. It's such an honor and a pleasure to join you and Women Tech Network today. Fantastic day of events. I'm happy to wrap it up for you.
Well, we are so happy that you'll do that for us. Everyone, if you're in the chat already with us here, give a virtual shout out for our last speaker today, Shelli. Yes, Shelli, I love the energy you're bringing. So Shelli's going to talk to us about investing in space innovation and how that will solve our greatest challenges on Earth. And I can't wait, Shelli. What a topic. So Shelli here is the COO of Space Foundation. She brings a broad perspective and deep vision of the global space ecosystem. And Shelli has a very distinguished career already as a space in both space acquisition and program management leadership. And she is a congressional liaison, has been for the U.S. Air Force. And now in her current role, she oversees Space Foundation's 3 primary divisions. So these are the Center for Innovation and Education, Symposium 365, and Global Alliance. So she is out there advocating as well for space technology, innovation, for entrepreneurship, diversity, and inclusion. And Shelli collaborates with organizations all over the world to do this, as well as to connect commercial, government, and educational sectors all together. We know what that does when we bring them all together. And Shelli, for a lot of this work, has some awards under her belt as well here too. So Shelli was named the 2021 Global Technology Leader and the 2020 Diversity and Inclusion Officer and Role Model of the Year by Women Tech Network. So big shout out to Shelli in the chat here too, a wonderful person to join us for this final talk of the day on the main stage. And I'll tell you more, there are other sessions going on, and we'll make sure you hear about this again after the talk's done. But Shelli plays an active leadership role with many organizations, from Women Tech Network to United Nations Space for Women. And I'll share this list actually in the chat for you so you can see for herself all the work she does with various organizations outside of her day job. So without further ado, Shelli, over to you.
Well, again, it's such a pleasure to join you. And I'm so glad your audience is joining us today for this final session. What I'm going to do is I've put together some slides so we can talk about space and what does space have to do with it. So space for you, space for all. Many times people think, what does space have to do with what I do with my everyday life, and why should I care, and how is it benefiting me? And today what I'd really like to go through with you is, how does space benefit us, each and every one of us, every day? So there is a place for each and every one of us. So let's start at the beginning though. Where did space start? Well, in 1962, President John Kennedy gave an amazing speech at Rice University where he said, "We choose to go to the moon in this era and do the other things, not because they're easy, but because they're hard, because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that is a challenge we're willing to accept, one we're unwilling to postpone, and one we will win." That speech from President Kennedy, in essence, started the U.S. space program. So let's go ahead and fast forward to 2021. It was a record-setting year for space. Private citizens made it to space via commercial efforts. The U.S. returned to Mars by landing a rover called Perseverance and flying a drone called Ingenuity. It was a Wright brothers moment because it was the first powered flight of an aircraft on another planet. And NASA and SpaceX have launched other programs that are taking us beyond the universe. So with that, what does 2022 hold? Even more. We think about Lockheed Martin and General Motors have partnered to build the next lunar rover, the James Webb Space Telescope, which is the most powerful space telescope ever, will be sending back images and information from the farthest reaches and earliest moments of our universe. And NASA and SpaceX, again, are preparing to launch rockets that are more powerful than that Saturn V rocket that took Apollo astronauts to the moon. So many times when people think about space, this is what we think about: going to the moon and on to Mars and beyond. However, space is also about precision agriculture, helping to feed a hungry planet. It's about environmental sustainability, solving our greatest challenges here on Earth. And it's about innovative technology that benefits us every day. The slide I'm highlighting talks about what is that global space ecosystem in numbers. And in 2020, it was $447 billion, despite the pandemic. And CNBC and financial analysts from Bank of America and CNBC predict that that global space economy is going to grow to $1 trillion before the end of this decade. And there are more than 90 countries operating in space right now, many more that want to operate in space, and even more than that want to use space technology. In essence, that's every citizen on this planet using space technology. And one of the greatest things about all that growth and all that technology is that 80% of the global space economy is commercial. It's products and services we use every day, just like these. One of my favorite forms of space technology is fire retardant clothing, because my husband was a firefighter for 30 years. He ran into burning buildings to save people's lives. We also can think about our phones. How many of us can go anywhere without our cell phone? Go ahead, pick yours up, take a picture of the screen. I do. And when you're using your phone and that camera, many of you are using NASA imaging technology, because that's the technology your phones have used to create that image. The other things that are in your phone that we use every day, GPS, battery strength, recharging capability, and something we all can't live without: connectivity. Yeah, because we want to be connected to each other, the internet, and all that information that's on our phone in those apps. And I live in Colorado, so one of my favorite apps on the phone is the weather app, because I could have 4 seasons in one day. And thanks to those weather satellites and real-time data, well, based on that app, I know how to pack for my next vacation, how to send the kids to school, or how to plan for that next hike. How many of you have used Zoom? Before COVID, I had never used Zoom. But I do remember that first time using Zoom 2 months into the pandemic. I was getting ready to do a presentation to 2,000 people from 150 countries. My boss was listening, and I was talking to my husband when someone sent me an email and it said, "Mute yourself." So just like the start of this session, I was on mute, but I needed to unmute. That's because I learned 2 years ago to master that mute button. But the great thing about Zoom and StreamYard and Hopin and all these amazing technologies and platforms is they're brought to us thanks to space and cyber technology. We also have many healthcare breakthroughs. We can think about cataract surgery, mammogram detection, pacemakers. And something that's really interesting is balance. Many of us don't think about balance, keeping our balance. A colleague of mine lost his balance, fell down the stairs, and broke his leg. I've even had to go to physical therapy to improve my balance, because most of us just don't think about balance until we lose it. According to the CDC, 28% of people over 65 years of age fall each year, costing on average $50 billion. And falls are the leading cause of accidental death in those over 65. There's a company that has created balance technology that they have put inside a space boot. because the effects of living in a microgravity environment, living in space, negatively impacts human balance. So this company has taken this technology, originally designed for the US space program, and put it in a product the size of a bathroom scale, similar to the one you're looking at on this picture. Now that scale uses machine learning to determine balance and instability and stability in a 1-minute standing test that will hopefully prevent future falls. So that's how near and dear space technology is to us in our everyday lives. Many of our audience, you want to know about sustainable development goals and how is space helping us with those? Well, first, the sustainable development goals were designed by the UN members and adopted in 2015 to reach them by 2030. And there's 17 sustainable development goals, and you can see many of them listed here. 2 of them that I work on almost every day at Space Foundation are gender equality and education. But if you also go to the UNUSA, the United Nations Office of Outer Space Affairs, they will list all of the SDGs, all 17 of them, and how space is part of solving every one of those challenges. I wanted to do just a couple of them for you so you could have an idea what I meant by sustainable development goals and how space is helping us every day. The first one is food security. I met 3 entrepreneurs that started their company when they were students at Qatar University. They were majoring in nutrition, and they wanted to create a healthy, delicious snack that would also help to reduce food waste and create food security. The product they created is made from fruits and vegetables that would normally be thrown away. But thanks to space technology, freeze-dried technology, they're now able to create a healthy, delicious snack, help to reduce food waste, and create food security. Another picture I have shown there is Dr. Catherine, who's holding her award, and she uses remote sensing and Earth observation to help countries around the world, and this award was for Africa, to use remote sensing from space to increase agricultural yields. From space technology, we can look at fields and determine if they're healthy, if they need food, fertilizer or watering or pest control, or worst case, the crop might fail. And then what is the next evolution of food security? Well, NASA is now looking at vertical farms because we're going to need those on Mars or the moon or living in space. But you know what? There are many companies that are taking this technology and using it to grow food closer to population centers. So we can bring healthy, more nutritious food in vertical farming to large population areas using artificial intelligence and robotics, primarily in an environmentally controlled facility that increases crop yield, uses no soil, and about 95% less water than what we use for normal food production. So that's just one important area that NASA and space technology is helping us. Another one we think about is water. You know, we all want to drink clean water. We want to know clean water is accessible to us. But in some parts of the world, that's not the reality. In parts of Africa, young girls and women may have to walk 4 to 10 miles one way to retrieve water for their home, to cooking and cleaning, for watering their plants. And many times that water could be contaminated. And because these girls and women have to retrieve the water, they may not be able to go to school. They may not have gender equality. And then they live more in poverty. When we can create forms of water security for girls so that the water, we can find the water, provide it closer to where they live, they can then go to school, they can learn a trade, they can earn money, and they can raise themselves and their families out of poverty. And space technology is part of that. We can use Earth observation satellites to help determine where water might be. There's also great space technology in filtration of water, reusing water, and testing water for contamination. We've had to do that for years on the International Space Station. Just think, a glass of water on the International Space Station is recycled. Everything is recycled on the International Space Station. And we need to do that here on planet Earth too. So these are just two areas of those sustainable development goals that space is helping make a difference in everyone's life. Everyone wants food and everyone wants to drink clean water. So when President Kennedy gave that memorable speech in 1962, neither he nor the people who heard it could have imagined the technology and innovation that would unfold in the following decades. They were focused on putting a man on the moon and doing it first. Now, multiple countries are focused on putting the first woman and person of color on the moon, and private companies are building the rockets to get us there. I also wanted to share, this is Women Tech Network. So let's talk a little bit about that technology. I wanted to share some of the technology that you may think is not part of the space industry, but they're interconnected. Obviously, satellite servicing, orbital sustainability, space, those are all part of the space industry. But we talked a little bit about healthcare and biotechnology. We talked about agriculture. I talked a little bit about robotics and artificial intelligence, 3D printing, advanced manufacturing, and more. So if you're interested in technology and the space industry, there is an overlap for you to join us in this industry. And at Space Foundation, we look at 14 different sectors of the economy that are part of the space industry. Now, I definitely have space in there on the right-hand corner. And telecommunications, a lot of that is coming from satellites. But we talked about agriculture. We can think about education. During COVID and the pandemic, many kids had to homeschool, but that wasn't possible if you didn't have internet connectivity. Also, in education, there's a lot of ways of including space technology in the day-to-day classroom, making learning fun, relevant, and engaging. Energy, we need new forms of energy solution here on planet Earth, and we also need those for outer space. So there's great opportunities for energy solution. And if you're an entrepreneur, which I know many of you are, and you're looking for a great idea to commercialize in any of this technology I've just mentioned, there are two great places you can look. The NASA Tech Transfer Office and the European Space Agency Tech Transfer Office. They have thousands of patents that are waiting to be commercialized, where you can bring space technology that has been designed for space and commercialize it for us to use here on Earth, making all of our lives better. And you'll find many patents that relate to just what I talked about: agriculture, energy, telecommunications, and healthcare. So I hope if you're interested in joining us in the space industry, you'll check out that NASA Tech Transfer Office. So I only have a couple minutes. So what I'd like to do is we will go ahead and answer any questions you might have and go from there. And let's see if we can take those slides down, and I'm back. Are there any questions out there? Otherwise, I'll keep talking and sharing some more insight on where you can find more information. So one place you can find some, go ahead, Margo.
No, keep going. That's perfect. Share more about how we find more information, Shelli.
Fantastic. So there's a couple of great places. I was going to say you can go to the spacefoundation.org website. We have some great information about, we have programs that are for K through 12. So bringing that space-inspired curriculum into the day-to-day classroom so kids learn about careers in space, not just about history of space or memorizing planets, but real career paths. How can they become part of Women Tech Network of the future? We also have our teacher leadership program. So we want to help teachers take this curriculum and inspire their kids. And our third program is all about entrepreneurs. So I hope you'll check us out on spacefoundation.org, and you can find more information from me on my LinkedIn website.
Perfect, Shelli, all in a nutshell, and right in the perfect timing as well today. I was going to say tonight, but who knows? Today for some. Thank you so much for being with us here, Shelli, and closing out our first big day of the event here of Chief in Tech Day at the Women Tech Global Conference.
It's my pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me. I hope y'all will come back on Thursday. We have an awesome panel on mentoring with some amazing women from around the world. So join us on Thursday.
That's a great call out, Shelli. Thank you so much. And enjoy the couple days here in between.
Absolutely. Have a good night, everyone.